So today's session related with Jenkins, we are going to see how to do a deployment and how to do a user management creation. And if time permits, we will see one more topic also related with the CLI. Okay. So these are all the things which we are going to do for today. But before I start with, I just need to make sure that Jenkins we have already installed, and the same Jenkins which was been running in the EC2 was stopped and kept for last 2 days. So now I have started the Jenkins and I have access to the public IP of it with the port number 8080, which is the default port number of Jenkins. So using 8080, I started to launch the Jenkins also. So now the Jenkins available with us. So this particular Jenkins, I'm going to access here with some of the frequent jobs. Okay. So the first activity, what we are going to do today, now we are going to learn something called as auto deployment. So how to do a deployment related with the Jenkins. But before we start, anybody know what is exactly called as deployment? Anything? You have a definition for a deployment? Have you heard about this word anywhere?
To deploy changes.
So deploy changes. Okay, that is fine. What is the deploy? What is the deployment? Which one you will be calling it as a deployment? So updating the modified code. Super. So the code level changeover is what called as deployment. Right? But actually, deployment is not only a changeover. Deployment is also an installation. Right? So deployment is installation. Deployment is updation. Deployment is upgradation. Whatever you can call it. But in a common terminology, we'll be calling that as a deployment. So deployment means application code which is installed on a web server or app server is what we will be calling it as deployment. So today we are going to learn how to do this particular deployment using the DevOps tool Jenkins. Okay. What are all the prerequisites for this particular activity we need to know first. Okay. What and all we have completed so far, but also we are going to see. So what and all we have completed now, we have something called as an EC2 machine. On top of that EC2 machine, what we did now, we created a Java installation. On the top of Java, we started to install something called as a Jenkins. Okay, so this is a setup of what we have currently in our environment. So this is what are now the supporting item. So on top of these items, now we are going to proceed out with how to do a installation of a application code. So we have application code. Using that application code, I'm going to do the deployment. So how are the way I'm going to do the deployment? We are going to see. Okay. Check out here. We have something called as a EC2 machine. On top of the EC2 machine, we have something called as Java. On Java, we have in Jenkins. These are all the items which you already completed. But for today's activity to do with the deployment, the basic thing what and all we needed now, we need a Tomcat server, or we need some of the app servers or a web server for the installation of the application. On top of that, we are going to install an application code. So if this is going to be the application code, which will be provided by a developer, we will be installing this particular code using your Jenkins. Jenkins will be installing this particular code on top of your Tomcat. So this is what going to happen in an automated manner. So we are going to witness how this automatic manner of deployment is going to take place. Right? So we have a base EC2 machine. On top of that, we will be installing a Tomcat. On top of that, we will be installing an application code. So this is what the agenda for the activity, what we are going to do. So we have already certain things. What are all the things we already have? Let me start to color it so that we will be knowing what we need to do, right? So these are the things which we already have. We have installed Java. We have installed Jenkins. These are all the things which are already done with. But now we need two items. One, we will be calling it as a application layer to be installed. We need a middleware layer. So that middleware layer will be considered to be as a web server or app server. So here I'm going to use a open source web server. So I'm going to teach you how to install a Tomcat. So Apache Tomcat is a brand which we are going to use for the open source. On top of that, again, we will be installing the application code. So we need two things. One is done by the deploymental team, application installation that we are going to do as an automated process. Another one is an environment which will be provided by a team called as your middleware team. So that team will be installing the middleware item. Since we don't have any middleware team, and I have already worked as a middleware guy for almost nearly 5 to 6 years, and I know how to deploy this particular Tomcat. I'm going to teach you how to install a Tomcat manually on top of a server. And then I will be showing you how to do an automated deployment using your application code. So now the prerequisite is two items. One is Tomcat, another one is application code. So let us try to get to both the components binaries first. So anything we can get it from Google, right? So let us go to Google and start to download the items. What are all we needed? So let me go to Google. So under Google, I'm going to search for open source Tomcat and also an application code. So sample application code I need. So I will be searching for something called as a sample war file downloads. Then automatically first URL will be opened for me. That URL will be providing me the war file which is needed for our installation. The sample application, this is a sample application. So if I click on this war, a war container will be getting downloaded for me. So this war file will be holding the application code. So we are going to install this war file like considering that it is provided by our developer. So usually in real-time environment, a developer will be providing this, but here I'm going to use this particular war file to install it on top of that war. So under the prerequisition for our auto deployment application, we have been downloaded. The next item what we needed is we need something called as a Tomcat environment. To download a Tomcat environment or how to do the Tomcat download environment, we have something Jenkins. Under that folder, I have a file called as auto deployment file. So if you go to this particular file, you can able to see that auto deployment process, how to be done, what are all the steps have been done. So whatever now I'm doing, I have already documented and kept for you. So you can refer this particular documentation for the downloadable items. So don't need to worry about anything as a downloads. So you can see here a Tomcat installation where it can be done and how it can be done, a URL appropriately available for it. So go and copy this URL. This is the URL which is available here. So copy this URL and put it into the browser. So you can download your Tomcat from your binaries, okay, as a binaries from the URL. So we are going to now download this components. Check out. Now I'm going to download this component. So Apache Tomcat is available for me. The version of Apache is version 7 of Apache is available here. Okay. So if you see here, other versions of Apache also available. You can download your Apache from these components also. But I'm not going to download any other component rather than version 7. The version 7 Apache is available here with the latest fix pack 7.0.103. But we need the binary file alone. So binary distributions are available here. Under that, you can able to see a tarz file available for you. If you start to click on this tarz file, it will start to get downloaded for you. But I'm not going to download this tarz file. Why? Because I have already downloaded and I kept it in my downloads, so I can able to show that for you. So under my downloads, I have the downloaded Apache binaries already available for me. So my Apache binary file also is available, and also my war file is also available. So both the things are available here. You can able to see that components here. Check out here. My sample.war file is also available. Same like my Apache war file is all. My Apache tarz file also available here. Both these components are available in my local machine only. So what I need to do now, I need to copy this particular item from my local machine to my remote machine. So I need to log in into a WinSCP. So let me copy this particular IP address from the Jenkins file and let me go and log in it from a tool called as WinSCP, because WinSCP is a tool which is used to copy the content from our local machine to our thing. So I'm using a username called as Ubuntu. So let me go and copy the username from here. So Ubuntu is the username, and let me put the password. So I don't have password, I have a PPK file only. That PPK file is already available here. So what PPK file I was been using for this particular Jenkins instance, this is the PPK file which I was been using. The key 1202 is the PPK file. So let me try to upload that key 1202 from here. So SSH authentication and the private key. Let me upload the key file available here. Now I have uploaded the key file key 1202. Click on OK and login. So now the key file has been uploaded and I'm logging into my WinSCP. So what I'm going to do now, from my downloads, I'm going to copy two files. One is going to be my war file, another one is going to be my tarz file. So both the files are related with Apache and the sample war file. Both I'm going to copy and put it into my local machine. So I mean from my local machine to my remote machine. So I'm copying the sample one .var and let me rename it as a sample.var. Same like I have a file called as Apache also. Let me try to copy that Apache file also and paste it here into my remote. So till here I have just downloaded the components and brought it into my server. So let me open a questionnaire session now. Till here we have any questions related with the auto deployment. We do deployment usually, but this deployment I'm going to do in an automated manner. For the other purpose, I'm going to use the Jenkins. That is the ultimate agenda, right? So we are going to do this particular deployment using an automated Jenkins. Okay. But till here, anybody have question? Yes, you can unmute and ask questions. I will be proceeding out for the installation of these benefits and I will proceed out with the deployment also.
Okay. Can we download this to wget or C or directly in the
Yes, you can directly get from the wget command also, but I need to show you how this page will be looking like, right? So that is the reason I have took you into that particular page. And also I have already downloads in my local machine. So I have directly pushed that the downloads from my local to my thing. Yes, you can download from wget command also. Wget command is a command which is used to download the URLs directly from the server itself, not from the browser. Okay. Yes, you can. Any other questions? Okay, good. So let me proceed out with the installation further. I have got my binary files both for var and also for the tarsi file. So what I'm going to do now, let me jump into the server first because I need to untar this particular component and I need to install it. I have a PuTTY IP address available here. So copy the public address and log in into the PuTTY. So inside this PuTTY, I'm going to untar the tarsi file and I'm going to install the Tomcat. Check out what are all the steps I'm going to follow for a Tomcat installation as a middleware administrator. I'm going to say you listen to me one by one. Okay. So I need to log in into this machine. So I need to log in into this machine as a Ubuntu user. So let me log in into this machine and change the font of the machine. Yes, I have logged into this machine. This machine I need to switch over as a root user to get the full access. So once I get a full access, I need to proceed out with the installation. Okay. So this installation is available now under the path called as Om Ubuntu. So what I'm going to do now, let me copy that and put it into the path called as OPT. Why? Because in Linux environment, usually how we will be doing in Windows with the C drive, same like in Linux, all the installations will be available under our OPT path. CD/OPT is the path which is used for our installation. So check out how I'm going to do copy the file from the home Ubuntu and the file name is Apache. Now I'm going to paste it into my current path. So I'm giving space with the dot. So now you can able to see my particular file Splunk is available here. Okay. Using this Splunk, this Apache, I'm going to install this. Check out how I'm going to install it. So let me copy, let me untar this file. So tar-xbzf followed by Apache Tomcat will be now helping me to untar the file. You're able to see now the Apache Tomcat 7.0.93 is available for me. But from the downloads, we saw that the 7.0.103 is the available latest fix pack. Not a big deal. Why? Because fix pack level changes can be written. Because now the current fix pack is 103, but we are using 93. Not a big difference. So we can go ahead with this particular product itself. Since I had that in my local machine, I'm using the same product itself. So once I have logged into the OPT Apache Tomcat, can able to see some certain files which are available here, some of the important files. So what I will do, I will give a glance on these folders and files, what are all available here, because these are from the middleware perspective, we need to know. First file is nothing but log files. Okay, what is the log files now? The files related with the Tomcat logs all will be getting generated and it will be stored and kept under that particular path only. So that folder is available for that reason. And the next item is your web apps. Web apps means once after doing a deployment with the Tomcat, all your deployed applications will be stored and kept under Tomcat under which path? Under the web apps path only. So once after the deployment, you need to verify where the deployed applications have been seated in the server. Yes, it will be seated under your Apache's home path under your web apps folder only. So this web apps folder plays a vital role there. And the next item is your important thing is configuration file. So this conf is a folder which is related with the Jenkins configuration item. So Jenkins have some of the basic configuration files. All those configuration files will be stored and kept uh, under your folder called as conf folder only. If you go inside this folder, you can able to see all the configuration files of your Tomcat. Okay, so Tomcat configuration files will be available here. The next item is your bin file. So bin file is one of the important file which will be containing all the details related with the startup, stop, and the controlling scripts. So all the scripts related with the Tomcat will be available under this particular path. All these 4 folders are the important folders related with Tomcat. Just you need to have a glance related with why, because we are not going to work as a Tomcat administrator, but still when our application is deployed on top of a Tomcat, we need to know that what comprises this particular folder, and for what reason it has been kept with. If any issue comes, where I need to go and troubleshoot. All these basic items you need to know about it. The reason I have started to teach you logs and web apps on the conf and the bin paths. So all together, we are able to see logs, web apps, conf, bin. So all folders are available for us. So we are going to get into the first folder called as bin. So under that bin path, you can able to see multiple script command, but especially we are going to use a script command called as a startup data SHA to start our Tomcat. But there is one twist. I'm not going to start now the Tomcat, but Tomcat default configuration port number is 8080. But this 8080 for this particular server is already utilized by your Jenkins, and that's a way you can able to see your Jenkins home page is launched with the port number called as Jenkins is now launched with the port number called as this port number. Okay, 8080. So 8080 is already in use. So Tomcat is also going to use 8080, and your Jenkins is already using the 8080. So another 8080 is not available for this server. So what we need to do, we have 2 options now. Yeah.
We cannot see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, once again, let me try to share it again.
Okay,
The
thanks.
sharing got disconnected. Okay. I think you should be able to see now.
Yeah, we can see now. Thank you.
Okay. So now we are going to say, we are going to see that how this 8080 port number is being utilized by Jenkins, and 8080 same 8080 cannot be utilized by your Tomcat. Okay, so what we are going to do now, we are going to change the port number from 8080 to some other port number. So the choice is we need to move from 8080 to 8081 for Tomcat, or else we need to move our Jenkins port number. Jenkins, which is running already with 8080, right? We can move it to some other port number called as 9090 or any other port number, whatever the port number is available with the server. But actually, this activity we are going to not do with the Tomcat, because we are not Tomcat administrators. We are basically Jenkins administrators. We need to know or learn how to do change in port number of a Jenkins. So that way we are learning how to change the port number of a Jenkins. I'm going to change the port number of the Jenkins. Check out what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go to the default path of our Jenkins. Okay. So where the default part of the Jenkins is available now, it is available under the folder called as etc default. The etc default is a folder under that particular file name called as a Jenkins. Hold all the default configuration information about your Jenkins. So if I open this particular file, you can able to see the 8080 file and the log files related with Jenkins. Everything is configured and kept under this particular path. So here you can able to see HTTPS. So here I'm going to change this particular port number 8080 to some other port number like 9999 or 9090, whatever the fancy port number you need. You can pick that particular port number and you need to save it. This way we are now changing the port number of our Jenkins. So Jenkins port number got switched out now, then 8080 becomes free. If 8080 becomes free, then ultimately we can utilize our 8080 for our own Tomcat purpose. Okay. Now this port number has been changed out, but still if you go and see ps-ef grub Jenkins, you can able to see that the Jenkins is running with 8080 only. So we are one step short. That is nothing but we need to restart our Jenkins. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to restart the Jenkins by stopping the Jenkins completely. I'm going to start the Jenkins from the beginning. It means that the service Jenkins stop and the start is going to be in picture. So once we are done with it, you can able to see that the Jenkins is now running in the newer port number which we allocated 13, but 9999. So now if you go and access your Jenkins from the browser with 8080 port number, Jenkins will not be available for you. Why? Because 8080 is not a port number available for Jenkins. So now 8080 got freed up. So now let me use 9999 for Jenkins to get launched out. Yes, I'm going to launch my Jenkins with the 9999 the port number, and I'm going to use the username as admin and the password as 1234. So this is going to be my admin user ID password. So let me log in into it and with the password 1234. So now it is logging into my Jenkins. So this way I can able to show you that how a Jenkins can be launched out. So this Jenkins now got launched with a newer port number. So this way you guys learned now how to change a port number of a Jenkins. And always whenever you are changing anything related with the configuration file, you need to restart that particular service. So here I changed the configuration file of a Jenkins. I restarted the service called as Jenkins. So now our 8080 port number is freed up. If you go to the older path called as OPT Apache Tomcat bin path, there the file name called as startup is available for you. So give startup.sh and give enter. The 8080 since it is free without any issues, your Tomcat has been successfully launched out. So you can test that by giving grub Tomcat. You can able to see that the Tomcat is running successfully in your server. This is verification number one. Another verification is also available. How now you can able to copy the IP address with the port number called as 8080. So when you access it with 8080, earlier it was showing Jenkins. Since the Jenkins has been shifted to 90999999 and 9999, now I have been moved into 8080. So you can able to see the Tomcat version called as 7.0.93, which I installed, has been successfully launched, and we can able to see that thing also for us. Okay. So I am now done with the first prerequisitional activity of installation of our Tomcat. So let me color that portion for showing your difference. Okay. So let me stop till here. Okay. What are all the steps till I have done? Everything has been written or recorded in this particular things. So I have just did the same item. So nothing need to worry about the notes part. So now I need to install the application only. But before proceeding with the installation of application, any doubts do you have related with the Tomcat? Yes, you can ask with me. Once I will clarify those doubts, and then we will move on to the installation of application. Okay, everybody fine, right? So the installation of Tomcat, once again I will recap. I have downloaded the component from a URL which I provided in the notes, and I have downloaded a product, and I have moved that particular product from a local machine to the remote machine, and I have placed it into the appropriate path called as a /opt. And once I untar the file, I will get into the file and I introduce it to 4 folders for what purpose they are meant for. And in that I went into the folder called as bin and I started my Tomcat. But before I started the Tomcat, I have changed the port number of the Jenkins from 8080 to 9999. I made that 8080 be freed up, and then once 8080 is freed up, I have started to launch it on behalf of our Tomcat. So now our Tomcat is available for us. So using this Tomcat, I'm going to install an application. So we are going to witness the next item of what we are going to do. The auto deployment means it is a process of doing an item automatically. So here the installation of application is going to happen automatically, and how we are going to do, we are going to witness it. But before that, to do this automational deployment, we need one item which we will be calling it as we need a job, a dedicated job for this particular activity. So the first step for creating an automation deployment, we need to create a job. So let me create a job called as a auto deployment job. Okay. So let me give the name for the job as a auto deployment. It's auto deploy job. More than enough. So auto deploy project. So I'm using auto deploy project and I'm going to create it in a freestyle manner. And let me go to the configuration section. So in the configuration section, usually we will be writing some script. I have already told you where we can able to write the script. We can able to write the build script. So we need to go to the build category. There we will be having a batch file wise executable and the shell wise executable. I'm going to use shell wise executable since my machine is an Ubuntu machine. So once this is done, there I need to add some commands to it. So usually in real time, what the commands they will be using, they'll be using a command called as the command they call it as a prerequisite command. For example, whether the war file is available under the particular path or not. whether the war file is not an empty file, and whether the war file is placed with appropriate naming convention, or any files they have been kept with. All those are the prerequisites which will be written and kept by your developer. Okay. Usually that script will be provided by the developer to check whether the deployment to be proceeded or not, whether that will be a successful deployment or not. So here I'm going to write one command called as a date. Okay. Since I don't have any prerequisite script commands, I'm just writing some command I need to write it down. Right. I'm writing a command called as a date. That will be the prerequisite command. Any script command you can write it out just to verify that after this script command executable successfully only our deployment is happening or not. That's the reason. So I'm writing some valuable commands. Okay. So some valid command has been written here. So once you come down there, you can able to see something called as post build actions. Okay. So after this particular prerequisite gets fulfilled, next thing what need to be done? The post build action. The next thing the post build action need to be done. What are all the post build actions to be followed? If you go here, post build actions will be having a set of activities to be performed. Other, can you guys able to see anything related with the deployment related item? No, it will not be actually available there. Why? Because the deployment activity is a separate activity. Okay, so the deployment activity need to be done by your Jenkins. By default, it cannot able to do. So to make it to do what we need to do now, we need to install a plugin. So already I would have told about the plugin while doing installation of your Jenkins. We have installed almost nearly 20 default plugins. Okay, the 20 default plugins we have seen. So here I'm going to install one more plugin. The plugin is nothing but we are going to install a plugin name called as deploy to the var EAR container plugin. Specifically, that plugin is not available here. What I'm going to do to download that particular plugin, here I'm going to save the action what we have so far done. Okay, so let me download it before that my system got crashed. My browser got crashed. Hold on a minute. So auto deployment project, I'm going to write a project with the default thing called as a date, and I have went into the post build action. Nothing is available here. So I'm going to save it, this particular item. Why? Because I need to download a plugin. So to download a plugin, where you need to go now? You need to go to manage Jenkins, which you can able to see here. Under that manage Jenkins, you can able to see an operation called as a manage plugins. Okay, the manage plugins item is available here. So clicking on that manage plugins. Once I click on that manage plugins, you can able to see under your available section. This is a tab. You can able to see multiple plugins related with it. Okay, so some of the plugins you need to search now. You can search it with some keywords. Okay, so here I'm going to search with a keyword called as a deploy. Because deploy is the activity. Okay, so deploy is an activity. So once I return deploy, so deploy related plugins, multiple plugins will be available here. Okay, so a plugin name called as a deploy to container is the expected one. Okay, so we are going to deploy it on top of a container. What container? Tomcat container. So I'm going to install this particular container. So let me choose this particular name and install it without restart. So the Jenkins doesn't need a restart. Other than the plugin alone will be installed with. So usually this is the plugin what I needed. This is the plugin what we needed for our activity and all. We may not be knowing very clearly. Okay. So there what we need to do now, we need to go to the Google and we need to search it. What plugin exactly we need it. Okay, so plugins are all available here. Plugins for Jenkins. If you start to search in Google, there will be a URL called as plugins.jenkins.io. Okay, so this plugin URL, if you go now, it will be dedicatedly telling you related with what are all the plugins available with the Jenkins and what plugin is used for what operation. For example, I am now doing something related with the deployment only, right? So let me go and search something called as deploy. If I go and search a deploy now, then multiple plugins will be available related with the name called as a deploy. There you can able to see deploy to container a plugin is available. In that way only I have searched everything and then I found it. But now we are doing a deployment related with the Tomcat. So that is why Tomcat is a container available here itself. Okay. But if you want to install it on top of WebLogic or WebSphere application servers, which are all other app servers, then those app servers oriented plugins you need to go and search. There you can able to see something called as a deploy WebLogic. The WebLogic related container is this one. Okay, so plugins are of differentiated in a different ways. According to your activity only, we need to choose appropriate plugin. You can come and search your plugins related with Jenkins under this particular URL. This is what the finding we are going to learn. Okay. So just to make a note of this URL, the URL is nothing but plugins.jenkins plugins plural dot jenkins plural dot io. That is the URL. So this URL, let me copy and put it into your browser so that you can have the thing available for you. Okay. Let me put it for everyone so that everyone can copy this particular URL. Okay. So now coming to the question. Okay. So Naveen Kumar, what will be the difference if we restart or don't we restart? Nothing. Any other pending updates are available for your Jenkins, that will be also getting reflected. Okay. So instant we can directly install it also. But some of the plugins maybe need an installation which may affect the configuration of Jenkins. Okay. So configuration of Jenkins, if it is not going to affect now, then we are very much good with without restart itself. If it is going to affect the configuration of the plugin, then we may need the installation. After installation, we need the restart also. It is encouraged. Okay. Usually 99% is not needed, but sometimes if it is going to affect your Jenkins configuration file, then suppose you need to do the installation. That's the reason needed. But the Jenkins restart when you are providing now, that may be affecting the entire activities of the Jenkins also. Usually we will not be doing installation regularly and also we will not do the restart regularly. We'll be doing it whenever we are performing an activity. Since an activity window time has been dedicatedly kept, that time only we will be restarting it. So now I don't need it. Why? Because it's not affecting anything related with the Jenkins configuration. So this way I have now shown you that what are all the plugins we can use. So the plugin can be found from here. So now let me take you into my Jenkins job called as auto deployment job. If you go to this auto deployment job, you can able to see now a new item under your post action, which is with the name called as deploy to var or EAR container is available here. Earlier this one was not available, but if I choose this one, it will ask certain questions to me. If I answer those questions, it will be accepting the content and it will be proceeding out with the deployment. Okay, so we are going to see how or what are all the things need to be added. Okay, how come we will be knowing which plugin will be needed for the instances for a job by experience or by the related terms. Both the way, by experience will be the first choice, but relating terms also. Now deployment is a keyword which I searched and I found out. Same way, if you need to know about this deploy to the container plugin, you need to go and click on this deploy to container and you need to go and learn this one. There it has been mentioned, it is for Tomcat, it is mentioned for JBoss, it is for Glassfish. So these are all the web containers which are being used. If your container is one among this, then this particular plugin you need to use. If your container is not coming under one among that, and it is going to be a WebLogic container, then you need to provide with this particular option. So option to option, where you need to vary out yourself by understanding which one you need to integrate with. Okay. So this all will be coming upon the experience only. Also, you can relate with the terms also, because the term only I have used to identify this particular item. Right? The term is also more important, and also with experience you can easily navigate it. But with the terms you can narrow down the item of a search. Okay, that is the difference. Both the way it is more important for you. Okay. So now I need to tell where our WAR file is placed under your server, and also we need to use a context name for this particular path. And also we need to give the container information, which container we are going to use. All those basic details we need to provide out to our Jenkins. Then only Jenkins will pick that particular file and it will be deploying on top of that particular Tomcat. So these are all the basic items which we need to do out. First item you can able to see var or EAR files. So var or EAR file is available under a path. Under which path it is available now? Now it is available under a path called as home Ubuntu. But where I need to appropriately place the var file, I need to place it under my Jenkins default path. Okay. Now I'm going to introduce you what is the Jenkins default path. Let me go to the Jenkins page, home page again. Okay. Let me go to Jenkins home page. There under the Jenkins home page, I can able to see that Jenkins is available. Jenkins is having a home path. So this home path is available under the configuration system. If you go to this configuration system, you can able to see can able to see the Jenkins home path. Usually the home path of the Jenkins is var lib Jenkins. This is the default home path of Jenkins. Earlier one path I told you that is a Jenkins default configuration path, etc default Jenkins, that file. This is a var lib Jenkins. Let me go to this particular path under the server. You can able to see that under this particular Jenkins path, you can able to see folder name called as workspace. You go to this workspace folder name, all your jobs which and all you created will be available here. You can able to see a test which you initially created on Tuesday and we tested it. And you can able to see dev project, test project, prod project, and also you can able to see XYZ test project which I have created. But you cannot able to see the file in the folder name called as auto deployment. Why? Because auto deployment is a project which got created, but it is not even ran for a single time. You can able to see that it is in a gray color ball. Since the job is not run for a single time, the workspace related with the job is not created. What we are going to do now, here we are going to run this auto deployment project at least for one time. Then only the workspace related with the auto deployment job will be getting created. Then only I can able to place my war file under that. I have run it for one time. Now a auto deployment project got created. So under that auto deployment project, you can able to see zero number of files are available. So here only I'm going to place my sample file. Why? Because the sample war file is a deploymentable file. It's an installable file. So this installable file need to be installed or kept under a installable location. That installable location is nothing but a var lib workspace, var lib Jenkins workspace auto deployment. Check out how I'm going to copy that file. So copy this file CP. Okay. So copy this file and paste it under. Copy this file from home Ubuntu. The file name is a sample war file and paste it under the current path. Now you can able to see the sample.war file is available for you. So now this path is going to be your var or AR file location. So if you go to your Jenkins auto deployment project, there you can able to see sample var file. So here you need to give like this and you need to give the sample.war file information. So var lib Jenkins workspace, the project name and the var file name. This is the detail which you need to provide under the var or AR file. So it will be having the virtual information of the path and which file need to be deployed, you need to provide out here. And mentioning one thing importantly, you need to place only the war file which need to be deployed here, and we cannot mention multiple files here. Why? Because it's a dedicated path for one installation only. So I'm going to install only war file, sample.war file. So that one I've been kept out here. But you can give a naming convention in this way also, like a pattern, star.war. Why? Because today I'm keeping a file name with the sample.war file. Tomorrow I'm going to keep a file name with some other var.file. Then that need to be easily distinguished and taken up. Yes, that can be easily distinguished with this name itself. So star.var is a common name. We can also give in this manner also, double star slash star.var. Double star slash star.var. This means double star means the current project's home path. So which is going to be your current project? It is nothing going to be your auto deployment project only. It is your current project because we are working under that project only. The current project's workspace path is mentioned with a double star. So slash star.var. So some var file which is kept under that particular var path will be taken out and it will be provided for deployment. So you can give in this format also. So these are all the methodologies or the ways in which we can provide it out. When you do your practicals, you do with var, lib, Jenkins and all. But in industrial standard, we will be working in this manner. Why? Because we know under which path we need to place the files. So we will be this way only. So star slash star.var is the current path. I'm going to choose it out. Let us check whether this is working or not. So that way we can distinguish ourselves that yes, we have another idea also. Because hard-codedly you can give a path name, that is not a big deal. But rather than hard-codedly giving, you can give in this format or in this pattern format also. So I'm giving in that manner. And coming to the context path is nothing but the calling name of the application. Once after the application is getting deployed, how you are going to call the name of this application? Now, yes, I'm going to call it with the name called as a sample. So sample is the name you need to remember because using this name only, I'm going to call this particular application. Sample is the application name. And now coming to the container. Now you so far said which is going to be your application. Now I'm going to tell you which container, we are going to deploy that application. I'm going to deploy it in the container called as a Tomcat container. So if you go and search under the container, already we saw this particular plugin will be supporting Glassfish, JBoss, and the Tomcat. Here we can able to see Tomcat's appropriate version also, and we downloaded the Tomcat version called as 7.x only. So let me choose that particular option. Now it is asking me to provide the Tomcat URL. There is nothing but the URL which we used to launch our Tomcat. So this is the particular URL. Just copy the URL and paste it here in your Tomcat URL section. But it is expecting the credential information of your Tomcat also. Usually Tomcat will be with the credential only in real time. That is the expectation. Here also we can able to see. But normally Tomcat will be with the credential, but our Tomcat is not with credential. So we can give this as an empty content also. But let us work like an industrial purpose. Okay. The industry we have something called as Tomcat with Tomcat with credential. I told right. Here we are going to add a credential. Check out how I'm going to add a credential. I earlier mentioned that I have worked as a Tomcat administrator. It is a middleware administrator also, right? So I know how to create a user credential for the Jenkins. I mean Tomcat. So I'm going to create a Tomcat user credential. Check out how I'm going to give that. Go to your Jenkins path. I mean, sorry, Tomcat path. Okay, so it is under your OPT Apache, right? Under that, multiple files are available. A folder called as a conf, which is mentioned related with the configuration, only going to hold all the information related with your configuration. Okay, so cd conf is the configurational thing. There you can able to see a file name called as XML file name called as Tomcat username. There, if you get into this particular username path, yes, you can add your Tomcat related credentials here. Usually this will be with no credential. Why? Because your normal Tomcat installation we have done with. We only need to set the credentials. So I'm going to set up this credential by adding the XML content between the tag called as Tomcat users. So in between this tag only, I need to add the content. Check out carefully how I'm adding it. So just to go and edit this particular page and remove all the commented lines. We don't need any commented lines because I'm going to write my own lines. So let me write my own lines here. Many of you people may not be knowing how to write the XML. So what I have done in my notes itself, I have added what need to be the credential. Okay, in the step number 5, you can be able to see that credential information. So if you read this thing, we can able to see that how many roles has been introduced. Now 4 roles has been introduced. One is GUI role, another one is script role, another one is JMX role, and the 4th one is status role. All these 4 roles are provided for administrator. Why? Because Tomcat administrator is a superior user who need to have entire roles. So that is why all the roles has been given as a permission for him. But when you come to the user admin to deployer is not having all the roles. He's having only the manage script rules, which means he is going to only manage the script of deployment. Stop. He is not given with full access. So that way I'm going to use deployer. So if this script I'm going to copy and add it under my XML now. So this shows me that I'm going to add a script related with Tomcat. So this script will be ultimately holding the information of it. Okay. Is it mandatory that we should be knowing these HTML codes? It is not actually HTML code. It is an XML. XML even I don't know. Okay. So this is actually not our activity. As I said, it is an activity of your Tomcat administrator. So we are going to just add a username to it. Just we need to know how to edit this item. So I have just edited and added. Okay. When you are coming or becoming a DevOps engineer, you cannot able to say that I know only this, I will do only that. Okay. You cannot have any restriction related with the activities. If at all you are saying, then you are not an eligible DevOps engineer. So don't ask whether I need to know this, I need to know that. Whatever you are coming across, you need to try to learn. Anything by default, anybody may not be knowing. Okay. But we can give a try. I did nothing. I just opened the Tomcat user XML file and I have started to add a user information, that alone. Okay. So this is just a configuration file editing. I have added the configuration file. Make sure you need to add the configuration file in between your Tomcat user tagline only. If you add it outside or if you add it in between the commented lines, this will not be working. Then the password which you even given will not be working. So make sure you have given in that way and then save this file. Once this file is saved, you need to now restart your file Tomcat. Why? Because you have touched the configuration file of the Tomcat, right? What I'm going to do now, I'm going to restart the Tomcat by just shutting down the Tomcat and then starting up the Tomcat. Check out how I'm doing that. So shutting down and stopping down. So now the Tomcat has been successfully restarted with the new credential information. So now the credential, what I have created that, I'm going to add it here. Check out how I'm adding it. So usually credential will not be available here. So I need to add it to the Jenkins database. If you go and click on this Jenkins database, it will be taking you into the Jenkins credential provider. For some of you here, I have given this as an assignment, right? The last class when I'm seated, I was been asking you to go and check where the password will be stored and kept. Few of the people came out with answers. Some of the people have not came out with the answer. But now I'm going to add one more credential related with the Tomcat to the Jenkins side. This also will be stored under the particular password. And don't expect any assignments related answers with me. Why? Because it was given as an assignment only for you to go and do that. Okay. Who are going to do that assignments are all going to get a job. That is the ultimate motto of it. Okay. So if at all you are going to come and again ask the same assignment related questions to me, there is no use. Why? Because that also can take another half an hour as a session and I can complete it. But you will not be having an ideology or you will not be having any potential to resolve any issues. Okay. The ultimate aim of a DevOps engineer is not to know everything because he cannot be a complete picture at all. As sometime before Naveen asked, do I need to know HTML? Yes. Do I need to know XML? Yes. Do I need to know what is Tomcat? Yes. Do I need to know what is server engineering? Yes. Why? Because DevOps engineer's role is all about overlapping. It is a role of a mother. Okay. There is a role for a father. Okay. You cannot define a mother's role into one definition, right? So it will not be coming under a definition at all. Same like a DevOps engineer. The DevOps engineer or the application support engineer's role is also going to be get elaborated like a server engineer, like a database engineer, like a networking engineer, like an application engineer, like a production support engineer, like a desktop support engineer, like etc. So you're not able to say that this or that or this thing to become a DevOps engineer. Only one thing you need to learn. Anything you give me as a task, I will be able to troubleshooting it. If that capacity and capability is going to get incremented with you, then nobody can stop you. So here the training program is not related with the Jenkins, related with the Ansible, related with the Docker. The training program is related with the implementation of your potential. So make sure that whatever the assignment I'm giving, I will never ever ask you whether you have completed or not. But down the line, after 3 months or 6 months, the one who are all going to get a job is all the one who have completed my assignments. Simple logic. Okay. Why? Because I'm not a school master to take one stick and come behind you and ask whether you have done this or that or not. Earlier days, at least I was been seeing your face. But nowadays, I even cannot able to see your face. And in future, I cannot assure I will be seeing you again also. Okay. That is what the situation is all about. But now I'm saying I care for you. That's the reason I'm giving assignments. But if you care for you, you do your assignments. If at all you are not doing your assignments, again, I am not going to care for you since you itself not care for you. Simple thought, right? So make sure you are taking up your assignments very seriously. And I appreciate some of the people who have approached me. I have remembered one or two people's name. One is Divya, another one is Sandeep. So all these are the people who have been approached me. Yes, you are completed with your task one. So you will be marching towards getting another offer. I take this particular moment to appreciate you people. And many people even reached me, okay, but not a complete answer. Okay, if some people would have reached me with a complete answer, I mainly forget your name. So don't mistake me. So whoever completely reached me with an answer for all the assignments, yes, you have. And also don't try to ping me again and again for an answer. I asked assignment only for getting an answer. It's not an assignment for you to get an answer from me. Got it? So never ping me until you get an answer. Only if you get an answer, you are going to get back to me and verify that that is correct or not. So you need to confidently say this is the answer. That confidence, how you will be getting now, you need to minimum explore 5 videos. You need to explore 10 blogs. Then only you can able to get that particular answer. So make sure you are really an explorer, or else there is no use of sitting and learning this particular item of DevOps. I made all multiple successful people only by training them mentally. I will train them mentally in that way only. Okay, so nothing called as my syllabus is the best syllabus in the world. I'm the best DevOps trainer in the world. Nothing like that. Okay, so my training is totally different. I'm going to make you to learn for yourself. I'm not going to teach you anything apart from the thing, because this deploymental video, you don't want to sit here and spend your 1 hour of time by without seeing my face, by leaving one yawning, and in this early morning, you don't want to sit in front of me at all. You go to YouTube, if you click auto deployment with Jenkins, one fantastic video will be there for you. Okay, so that is not a process of learning, right? So make sure that you are getting complete only because you are completing some of the important things which is apart from the syllabus. So always take your assignments so serious. So let me come here again back to the Jenkins database to add the user credentials. So there we already saw one user ID password, right? So that user ID password I'm going to give here. The deployer is going to be the username and deployer is going to be the password. I'm not going to add the admin. Why? Because admin will not be our sake. So I'm not going to add admin. I'm going to add only the deployer. Why? Because Jenkins is going to be the deployer here. So once after I have added the thing, now if I go and see the credentials will be with the deployer. So let me add the deployer and let me save this particular deployment. And now my auto deployment setup has been done. This is a one-time activity only. Hereafter, whenever we are going to place multiple files, these files are all going to take up and it is going to proceed with the deploymental. So that is what we are going to witness out here. So now the auto deployment has been ran for one time. Check out. We are going to see the auto deployment for second time. I'm going to run this. Once I run it, I will verify it and then I will open a questionnaire session. So whatever the question you have, please hold on. So auto deployment project has been created. Now I'm going to run this project. Check out here. I'm running this project. Once I run this project, the success is 1 now. If it is going to turn to 2, then it means that I am successfully done. Else if the ball color I'm seeing as blue to red, then it is a failure one. Check out. Yes, the job is successful. The job is successful now. You need to go and check out your log. So if you go and see your log, you can able to see the console output as successfully done. So if you go through here, it was shown you to check the prerequisite. The prerequisite is nothing but the date command. And then it was attempting to see that deploy a file with one var file, and the var file was been placed under this particular path, and it was been deployed to this particular container with a context root name called as a sample. And also if you see here, it is not deployed. Why? Because it shows it's not deployed, but it shows like it's doing a fresh deployment. It means it was checking whether this application is already deployed, so that it is doing a fresh deployment, or else it is going to do a updation. It means already the deployment has been done and it is going to do an updation of it. So we are going to witness it. Check out here, it's not deployed, so doing a fresh deployment. So you can able to see the success story available here. So it shows finished, and it means that you have successfully deployed. So your verification number 1 with the Jenkins console got over. Next thing, let me take you into the server. I already told you, inside the server, you can, if you go to the path called as web apps, you can able to see the deployed file information here. Yes, our file name called as sample.war file is deployed here. Few minutes back, you can able to see the time also. Just 1 minute back, it was got deployed. And if you go to the sample.war file, you can able to see all the content related with it. Under that, you can able to see index.html file also. So as a DevOps engineer, I said already, you need to explore everything, right? Let us try to explore this index.html file also. There is something written as a code. That coded file is what this HTML file. So if you go and read this HTML file, you can able to see a sample hello world application has been written under it. So it shows that this is going to be the header of the application which is deployed. I have not yet launched that page and shown for you, but I'm going to create an expectation inside you that that page is going to be with the background color called as white, and it is going to hold a header called as a sample hello world HTML. So this is what going to be the page, and the page will be holding a 0 border, which means there is no border for the page. Facebook will be having a border. Both the side it will be with the white color. In between center only blue color page will be running out. Same like here, there is no border, which means the browser application is not having any border, so the application will be fulfilled entirely. And it has been with the Tomcat image also. Tomcat image, usually how it will be looking now, it will be looking like a cat symbol. So these are all the things which you are going to see the sample application. Check out here, I'm going to launch the sample application now for you. So let me go to the Tomcat page. If you go to the Tomcat page here, 8080 page is available here. So if you give slash sample, so this is a context root. I already told about the context path. 8080 slash sample, if I'm going to give now, yes, it is going to land up into a home page of the application which I deployed. The home page of the application is Hello World application, sample application. As I said earlier, here we can able to see a cat is also available with it, and Hello World sample application has been launched for it. This clarity gives you the picture that our Tomcat application has been successfully installed and kept on top of our system. Got it? So this is verification number 3. So first verification we done with the Jenkins console. Second verification we done with the launching of Tomcat URL, and then we saw the installable location, that is the path, and also we verified it with the application also. So the application code and the content of the page both are equal, and also you parallelly learned how to edit an XML file and how to learn a HTML file, and this is what called as the learning. So we want to learn in this manner only. So now anytime when I'm going to install an application, whenever I'm keeping the file, it will be picking out. But you saw, it is not a complete automation. I need to keep the file and say inside that particular path, and then it will be picked up. Okay, so that is not a complete automation. Then what is a complete automation? If you go to the project called as auto deployment project, there under the configuration section, you can able to see something called as build with a source code management. Source code management is SCM tool. That is your version controlling tool, which means your Git and your etc tools all will be considered to be as a source code management tool. These source code management tools, we have already added some of the plugins when we install our Jenkins. Do you remember? We installed Git, we installed Subversion. Like that, we have something called as Bitbucket. We have Mercurial, Concurrent. All these are also tools available into the market. So if you need to pull a code from a Git, yes, you can use that particular Git URL here. But many of you people doesn't know what is Git now, right? So we will learn Git and we will see that in our project. So our advanced learning of Jenkins is still pending with the project. But just I showed you how a deployment as a part of Jenkins it will be doing. But as a part of involving with the Git, how the deployment is going to happen, we are going to witness after some time. Okay. This learning is not got completely ended up, but we learned how a Jenkins will be deploying a war file. But still, deploymental is not an activity of a Jenkins. I already told you. Integration is only the activity. But how that integration will be happening? It will be integrating with other tools. For that, those other tools you need to know, right? So once after learning Git, we will be learning this item also. And once added a Git, we can able to set up a trigger also. What the trigger way we can set up now? We can set up a poll SCM. So in a scheduler also we can set it like every minute or 5 minutes once or 15 minutes once, this particular URL need to be get monitored. And whenever a new content is pushed into that particular URL, the code will be pulled out by your Jenkins and it will be built and it will be processed out with your Maven and it will be deployed. So this is what our CI/CD flow learning is. Okay, guys, I would have already told about it. CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. Let me open that particular picture for your high level understanding, right? So that we will be knowing that what we have completed so far. We have completed so far only the part, the minute part called as Jenkins. But before to Jenkins and after to Jenkins, until monitoring, until report generation, multiple activities are involved. So that is what called as CI/CD flow. So your all ultimate goal of learning is CI/CD flow only. As a DevOps engineer, you should not only make an automation in a smaller level. If you want to do an automation in a smaller level, you can do it with a script itself. Do you think that a script cannot do this deployment? Yes, ultimately the script can do the deployment. Whenever you place the file there, it will pick that and it will be putting into your Tomcat's web apps folder. So that can be easily done with the script itself. For the Jenkins is not at all needed. But DevOps means it will be a multi smaller level automations are all together to be put and made as a meta automation. That meta automation is what called as CI/CD. So in this area, you have now understood if Git is giving a code, how Jenkins will get that code and how Jenkins will be using that as a war file and it will be deploying into a deploymental container called as Tomcat. So now I have introduced what is Tomcat. Now I have introduced what is Jenkins and how these two guys have been going to get integrated. But in between, one guy need to provide code, and another guy need to convert that code to a war file, because today we used ready-made war file. But in real time, war file also need to be built and packaged. So that packaging tool and build tool all need to come into the syllabus. So that and all we are going to see in the upcoming future. So this way we need to correlate and we need to understand what is going to be our destination of learning. So that way we will be proceeding out. Okay. This is what called as auto deployment. Application engineering or application learning need to be in this manner only. Okay. So I think I have made something meaningful related with auto deployment. Okay. Now let me open a question session. If you have anyone with any questions, yes, you can unmute yourself one by one and you can start to ask questions.
Karthi Vijay here.
Hmm.
That date command you gave, right? Pre-request.
Hmm.
So just asking, so is that mandatory?
அது ஒரு build script. That is a build script. இப்போ என்கிட்ட எதுவும் build script இல்லைன்றதுனால அதை கொடுத்துருக்கேன், அவ்வளோதான். அது மேண்டேட்ரியா அப்படின்னு கேட்டிங்க அப்படின்னா build script mandatory, but date mandatory கிடையாது. Got you?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So
அப்போ build script mandatory.
Something that should be related to your Linux should be given. Right?
Yes, exactly. Related to Linux, related to your application installation.
Okay, thank you.
On top of that, or shell script you would need to run. If you have installed with the Python, yes, you can give Python also. Yes, you can give Python, Perl, etc. Whatever it may be.
Okay.
And one question from Indu. Hold on. Maven configuration of Jenkins, can you explain, please? Okay. So Maven we will be doing out. Niki portion la கிடையாது. Okay. We will be understanding Maven also. Why? Because now only for the application installation நம்ம புரிஞ்சிட்டு இருக்கோம் இல்லையா? So Tomcat with Jenkins we have did this thing. Now same like we will do with Jenkins with Git. Another day we will do with Jenkins with Maven. So these are all the combinations we are going to go ahead with. Okay. And another question from Karthik: is it mandatory to put the war file into the default Jenkins folder and add the definite path? Why can't we keep it anywhere else in the server and define the path? Exactly, we can do, but that will not be that much recommendable manner. Yes, you can put anywhere and you can take it, but on the particular path with Jenkins permission. Make sure that you have provided it with appropriate permission. There is no appropriate permission, then that may put you into trouble. ரன் ஆகும்போது பர்மிஷன் எரர்னு வரும்போது தான் நமக்கு தெரியும். அதனால ஜென்கினுக்கு பர்மிஷன் இருக்கிற இடத்துல அது வைக்கிறது நல்லது. ரெக்கமெண்டேஷன் இஸ் இன் தட் வே. எனி அதர்? Good. That's it, right? Okay, fine. Anything else? Hari?
Karthik, hi, Hari here. I have one question.
Yeah.
As of now, we are trying to deploy only the applications, right? And we do have some services, like some microservices or some services. So can we update or deploy the services as well?
Services in a sense, what will be your so any specific services which
Yes.
you mention it out here?
General
service.
like suppose a payment service, something else like a login service. Suppose I have one web page and I'm holding authentication related stuff in some other service. If I log in, it will connect to the service and it will validate whether this user is authenticated or not. And then basing on that, it will go to the application. So I want to just
a deploymental operation.
Okay.
Is it a deploymental operation?
No. Straightforward it is no, but if I want to have such functionality, I update some service and I want to deploy.
So here the thing is as per deployment. So deployment with one server or multiple server, but Jenkins can do anything of installation if at all you are going to provide it with the appropriate scripts. So it can be an installation, it can be a startup, it can be anything. It is just a job creation.
Yes.
It's all about a job creation. What the activity will be doing, manually write it as a script and add it under Jenkins and create a job. That is more than enough for Jenkins to do that. So if that thing is done, that thing is available, the operation is available, yes, you can do it. Ultimately, what we need to learn it out, the service what you are trying to do with, is it can be done with the script? If yes, then that script can add into your Jenkins.
Okay. So where we have added date like that, so there we need to add the script.
And that build, we are going to add under Jenkins related service oriented script we are going to add it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Karthik.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me take an assignment for today. Okay. So
Yes.
the assignment for today is not for you alone, for everyone, common. So assignment for today is I'm going to work with Jenkins. I'm working with Jenkins with one server alone till here. There is a concept called as a master slave model in DevOps. That is what going to be in our next class. Okay. Before I go ahead with that one, I need my students to go ahead and stand there, and you need to welcome me there. That is learning. Okay, I'm giving now the heads of what we are going to see tomorrow, right? So what is that now? It is all about a master slave model in Jenkins. How a master slave model in Jenkins performs. What are the prerequisites? Is it performable? Okay. Now here I will tell about the generic master slave model, and I will stop it down for today's session so that you will understand what is master slave model. Without that understanding, I should not give this assignment. Okay. But the master slave model related with the Jenkins, we are going to learn. Okay. So something I need to make it more interesting with this online sessions, right? Even I am much more bored in taking online sessions. I just plan for a week. Okay. But I think maximum it will be going for months. Okay. So normally I like to do classroom session that will be more interactive in manner. So what I will do, I will give this particular assignment so that I will have more people interacting with it. Okay, it's all about the conversation. I'm seeing still here around the 50 plus people are seated here now. Around 5 people are interacting with me. And 50 people again cannot able to interact. Why? Because 50 people will be having the same repeated questions only. When you first day asked, already you got interacted with it. But your self-confidence should not go down. That is more important. In this minimum 10% of the people would have been muted and they would have not sat in front of the system itself. That is different story. Okay. Another 10% of the people will be with some other headset and listening to some other official call. That is different story. But some people who are here, 40 to 50% of people who are really about to learn a newer thing to implement, I'm giving that task. Why? Because I need them to know about something on master slave model. Okay, I will give an introduction related with master slave model alone now, and I will stop the session today. Okay, what you guys do now? You guys go and take an assignment and come back to me by making me to understand that this master slave model is possible with your Jenkins or not. Okay, master slave model in Jenkins. That is going to be the assignment. Let me type it and post it out into the thing itself. That's some questions here. So master hyphen slave model in Jenkins. Okay, fine. So master slave model na model enna adha நம்ம தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும் இல்லையா? So let us understand what is a master slave model first. Master slave model in real time we will be calling it as a client server model also. But before that, how many of you here knows two-tier architecture and three-tier architecture? Have you come across this word two-tier architecture and three-tier architecture? Anybody? Yes or no?
Yes, Karthi.
Yes. Yes, sir. Tell me, what is two-tier architecture?
Uh, we are dividing the application into multiple layers. Suppose we have a two-tier architecture means
We are dividing application into multiple layer, or we are
layers.
dividing the application flow into multiple layers.
Flow.
Super. Flow. Applications request, how it's going to get flow, right? Super.
Yes.
We are
Yes.
dividing. We are dividing. What we are dividing?
The request from the server, request from the user, like to the UI, to the business, and to the database, between the business logic. So we're dividing each logic into separate modules that we call as a layers
Super.
or a tier.
Okay. So can I show you one diagram for this better understanding? So that will be making the others who have no idea about this particular thought, yes, they can understand with the help of a diagram. So this is what called as a client. And this particular client is nothing but a browser which is installed on top of your laptop or your PC or your mobile, whatever it may be. So from there a request has been initiated. Now that request is going to a database, but in between it will be going via one application layer. So that application layer may be seated up on top of a web server or a app server, whatever it may be, right? So it can be with a web server or app server. Yeah, I think Kumar raised hands. Kumar, I missed you. Yeah, Kumar. Tell me, Kumar. Do you have any other answer before I proceed? You can unmute yourself and you can say. Kumar? Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, tell me, Kumar.
Sorry, this application Zoom, not used it, so I was searching a bit.
Okay, fine, no problem. You have any answer?
I think, yeah, I have. I'm just guessing. If I please correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
The application layer we have like with one of our clients we work like 2-tier architecture and 3-tier. 2-tier is like
that is what the
2-tier
question is.
Yeah, so one is the front end side of the application, and then there's a back end.
Okay.
That's 2-tier.
That is exactly like your diagram now it is shown here, right?
Yeah.
So one is your front end, that is what your laptop from where you are accessing your applications front end. That is your www.hdfc.com or any of your facebook.com, or these applications will be considered as a client end. Same like you have another end which we will be calling it as a database end, which is nothing but a backend. So there, whatever you are accessing, it will be going and taking you into the backend. So just your www.greenstechnologies.com is behaving that way only. Greenstechnology.com is having one item of database related things, and where it is pulling out the data and it is showing you repeatedly the content for you. So that is your Jenkins, applicable for your Jenkins also. Any of your applications, it will be going in that manner only. But there is a layer which we will be calling it as a 3-tier architecture. Okay, where it will be having a client, server, and then a database. So this will be your web server area. This will be your app server area, and this will be your database area. So here it is a front end, as Kumar said, and this is a back end, which is a database. In between layer is nothing but a business logic holding layer. This is what the main thing first we need to understand. Our request will be flowing out. So request will be flowing a manner with some architectural diagrams only. This is an architectural flow, whether the application is skipping a server part or application is holding a server part. So here we are going to understand the client server model also with the same thing. Okay, here we can say this is a server and this is a client. Multiple people in the world are trying to access one particular application. Normally your application is a client server model. What is a master slave model? In that particular client server model, there will be multiple servers which will be serving for the clients. There will be multiple servers which are serving for the clients. But all those servers will be managed by one server. That one server will be the master server, which is having the full rights or control towards the entire business. This is what called as a client server model. The client server model will makes the things meaningful to understand. Okay. You need to know what is a master slave model. Now, same like in Jenkins, I have a master slave model available for me. So far, I was been saying everything related with the Jenkins console only. Did you saw that? Everything with the Jenkins console, right? So this Jenkins console is hosted on top of one server. Will you agree with me? Definitely you need to agree, right? We have created an Ubuntu server, EC2 server. On top of that, we installed Java. On top of that, we installed Jenkins. And now we are accessing this Jenkins from the browser. This is becoming a client for us. But exactly Jenkins is hosted on top of a EC2 machine, which is a server for us. So that will be our back end and this will be our front end. So this way we can try to understand what is the client server model. One thing. Another thing we have that Jenkins is going to be running in one server only. One server only it is running now. Multiple jobs are going to call on a same time. 12 o'clock, midnight, 12 o'clock, every day I need to have a daily report. 12 o'clock one job is running now. 12 o'clock one job is running from Monday to Sunday. But there is another job which will be coming and overlapping with this 12 o'clock, which is nothing weekly report. On Sunday midnight at 12 o'clock, every week one extra job will be running out. Daily night at 12 o'clock one job will be running. 7 days, 7 jobs. Okay, that will not be harming. But one day alone, when weekly report and daily report both are running together, the server may not be having a capacity to handle both the server. There we need another helper server. That helper server is what called as a slave machines. So I'm trying to here make you to understand what is called as a slave machines. Okay, so slave machines is all about working with the extra machines to support the business. working with the extra machines to support the business. We are going to now make our business to run a prolong. Yes, our business can run prolong. The business can run for prolong, but it cannot be done with only one person. It is what called as enterprise model. No businessman will be doing one business with one person. A businessman will always leverage a time. What is called as leveraging the time? For example, I'm going to be the businessman. My 14 hours of work alone cannot be making me a billionaire, cannot making me a millionaire. What I need to do now, I need to hire other persons whose 14 hours is worth for 1 lakh, but I will be paying them for 50,000 and I will be sucking their hours and I will be putting my money into my pocket. This is what called as leveraging. So that leveraging we are going to see here with the master slave model with our Jenkins. Okay, so that HF only have given as a assignment for you. You are going to learn and come back to me. Then in the next class we will be learning something related with the user setup, that is a user management with Jenkins, and also your master slave model with the Jenkins. Don't ask any questions related with this master slave model. Since I given that as an assignment for you. Anyway, I'm going to make this thing as a clear picture in the next class also. Apart from that, I didn't even understand the question like Sabutra. If anybody have yes, you can ask. That is fine. But how it will be working, don't ask me. Okay, we are going to see. Now let me open a question session before we drop down. Any doubts, any questions, any clarifications if you have, yes, I'm ready to clarify you. Till today's session, what we have seen. We are going to continue it in the part 3. We are going to see Jenkins as a money part. Why? Because next 2 to 3 months you are going to stay in home only. Don't need to worry about it. Okay. So we will learn slowly. Okay. So now tell me what you have as a question. If nothing else, I will drop down this meeting and I will be sharing you this audio or the video recording to all you people. If at all I'm not sharing it till 3 o'clock, you can ping me personally and get the detail. I think maximum all of the guys who are all here have my numbers. Right? Can I drop down? Okay. Thank you. Nice speaking with you guys. Thank you. Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Karthik.